17th of September 2016. Welcome to episode 14 of RapBabble, the weekly hip-hop podcast. If you want to be a host with us, email us at rapbabble@gmail.com. It's a busy week this week. There's a lot of stories to talk about. Normally I'm scrounging for stories, but this time I have 4. It's ram-packed. And they're split into two twos, and the first 2 are about beefs. So the first one is Kid Cudi takes aim at Kanye and Drake. So Kid Cudi is not in the best of spaces right now, mental spaces, and he had a bit of a diatribe on Twitter, and he had a lot of things to say, and it was kind of there are haters in the industry, they're trying to hold me back, don't let them do that kind of thing, blah 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 blah. And sometimes these things sound good when you actually have something to complain about, like Lil Wayne and Birdman. Lil Wayne has someone holding him back. Kid Cudi, I don't think he's even really popular enough to be hated in that way. So I'm not sure what he's talking about. To me, it seems like the ramblings of a madman. And he has seemed a little bit unhinged. And we know that he's doing drugs again. And his music just kind of doesn't make sense. The last album was terrible. Anyway, listen, let me tell you what he said. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are 2 tweets in particular that stand out, which were a bad idea. He put a few names in, people he was complaining about. So the first tweet is, everyone thinks they're so great, talking top 5 and be having 30 people write songs for them. Now that sounds to me like definitely Kanye West and possibly Drake. He doesn't have that many people, but it could potentially be a shot at him. Kanye definitely has huge amounts of people. He has had 30 people on a song. So he gets loads of help, which isn't a major issue. I like it and I don't like it. We won't go into that now. Anyway, but then in a later tweet, he actually does put names in. And this time he says, my tweets apply to who they apply. Ye, Drake, whoever, these guys don't care about me. So that's pretty direct. And I kind of felt like he didn't even need to put in Drake's name. I don't know why. I don't think they've done any songs together and they don't have any connection. So he must have met him recently and got brushed off. Kanye West, okay, well, there's an issue there between the 2 of them. I mean, Kid Cudi was dropped from the label. And I can tell why, because the music has not been very good afterwards. I didn't even listen to I don't think I even heard the 3rd album. I loved the first and the second one, and then he had this one music video which was it seemed a bit crazy. It was one shot in a it looked like an air hangar or something like that, like this big huge room. There was a camera and it was a single shot just pointed at him, and he was just there smoking and rapping, and he didn't even rap all the lines, and it just kind of, I don't know, it didn't seem like it was a proper music video. It just looked like someone just took a lighter, just started smoking, and then just looked up at the camera occasionally. It looked like it was a bit crazy, and given the rest of Kid Cudi, it fits. So he lost me after that. So yeah, I loved the first 2 albums as well. I loved them; they were so good. So it's sad to see him like this, but I hope he improves. But yeah, he's kind of put his foot in it this time. But something must have triggered him. But he's free. He can put out music without anyone bothering him. I don't know what the problem is. He's in one of those situations where he's in his own way. No one's stopping him. No one's holding him back. We have people in this episode who are being held back, and they have good reason to complain, but Kid Cudi has no restraints on him. All right, the next one is The Game beefs with Meek Mill. This one just kind of came out of nowhere. So The Game came out on stage at a concert and was dissing Meek Mill, calling him a snitch, and it comes from a robbery of Sean Kingston, the R&B singer. He lost a chain. No, he was robbed of a $300,000 chain. And The Game he believes that Meek Mill told on The Game, and I don't know if The Game even had any involvement or what the situation was, but he thinks Meek Mill is a snitch. and so he came out and spoke against him. I should mention that he has an album coming out called 1992, and he has a song. The last track on the album is called 92 Bars, and it includes some diss lines against Meek Mill. So unfortunate timing. Well, not unfortunate timing. It looks suspicious, but the game is not one for publicity stunts. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. Although it's not, I'm not used to seeing beef tracks on an album. The only other time that I'm aware of it in the last, um, well, I know it happened before. I can't speak on the before my time music that I didn't pay attention to, but 50 Cent did one, including the game, and Jay-Z did one on, he did the Takeover. But other than those two, usually beef tracks are loose songs, MP3s put out on the internet, freestyles, but he's putting this on the album. And he also has a line directed at Nicki saying that she can get this pool stick. And she's a really big target for Meek Mill. It's kind of unfortunate that he got with this girl and everyone's always poking at her. So she was brought up in this situation as well. So I hope that one gets resolved. I mean, there are two guys who are in a lot of the other beefs. You don't have two street guys who are ready to brawl, but in this situation, I think you do. And the game is very much a hothead. And he's been doing a lot of good recently. Like he's been doing a lot of charitable work. Like he bought 100 kids McDonald's Happy Meals, which I was really critical of the food that he was buying, but I really appreciated the fact that he was just giving money to the poor. Like this is Robin Hood stuff. So I commend him for that. And I thought maybe he's changed. But now seeing this, I'm thinking maybe he's still the same game. He's just improved. But he's still probably a hothead, and he could still get himself into trouble and into some violence as well. And Meek Mill is less so. He's about that life, but he's a bit wiser. I think he wants to avoid trouble. So, but we have the potential here. We didn't have it with Drake and Meek Mill. We have the potential here for problems. And Meek Mill lives in LA, and the game is from California. I think he might be he's from Compton. So yeah, he's from California, but it's nearby to LA. So potential problems there. Anyway, let's put that one down. All right, that's two beef stories done. And now there are two prison stories. So the first one is Max B takes a plea deal. So Max B is a rapper who's heavily associated with French Montana. And he was put in jail for a robbery that ended up with someone dying. So he wasn't involved directly, but he sent people to commit it. And then the victim died in the end. And he was sentenced to a whopping 75 years in prison. And he took a plea deal for the charge of aggravated manslaughter. He had the charges of first-degree murder, first-degree robbery, and first-degree kidnapping. But now they've been dropped in the plea deal. And he was imprisoned in 2009 from that incident, and so he's been in there a while already. But now his sentence is between 2 and 6 years. That's the minimum and the maximum. So this is really surprising, and I didn't know it was even on the cards as well, because he's been in prison for a long time. It's been 7 years already. So I don't know what changed. The court case must have finished, or maybe there were separate charges that had separate ones. I don't know, but yeah, he's going to be out in 2 to 6 years, and I'm being very cautious with these stories because I'm quite fond of French Montana, and I hear him talk about Max B and how he's supporting him and everything, and it's kind of easy to get lulled into this idea of, oh, he's such a lovely guy, he's a lovely guy, but let's not forget that he did set someone up to be robbed and they were killed in the end. So I don't know if this is a story that should be celebrated or not, but hopefully he's a reformed character, and let's hope it's a good thing. 75 years in jail doesn't sound like it's going to do anyone any good, especially when it wasn't a murder as such and he wasn't directly involved. So I can see how the numbers can drop dramatically. So let's take it as a good one, a good thing. And then the next story, which is pretty much identical Bobby Shmurda takes a plea deal. Now, this one has been on the cards for a while. His court case was coming up. I think it would have passed. So the court case came up, and then he took a plea deal before that, and now he's got 7 years, which is actually a turn up for the books. This is good because also, like Max B, he would have had a lot more. He had a lot of charges. So he was arrested with his group, the GS9 crew, after his. So he had a single that came out called. Well, I won't say the name because it's got the N word in it. Trying to be clean on this, but let's just call it Hot Boy. And he put that out, and it was huge. It was a smash. But then, not long after, he was caught, and I assume that the police they do target rappers. They have a rapper unit, so they do target rappers. Obviously, they can get a lot of charges quite easily, and then it's good for lawyers as well. And it is a bit shady. But then again, they were caught with loads. Were they caught with guns? See, I'm not clear if they were caught with guns or not. But they rapped about that life, so it's not surprising that the police would target them in the first place, which isn't necessarily a good thing. I mean, it is if they actually have guns and you're trying to keep them off the streets, but let's not get into that. But the point is, he could have been in for 25 years because there were quite a few separate charges. Conspiracy, reckless endangerment, criminal possession of a weapon, and criminally using drug paraphernalia. He's been in prison since December 2014. He could have done 25 years. So his deal now is 7 years, which is a dramatic drop. And he's already done 2 years. When December comes, he would have done 2 years. So he'll only have 5 years to do. And he possibly could get out earlier as well. If he behaves himself. So I'm going to say this is a good thing because he didn't actually do anything with those guns. He was just caught with the guns. Hopefully the situation has made him grow up quite a bit. I think he's missed his opportunity in music. He could still have a career, but you ruined it essentially, which is sad. I don't think the sad thing is he didn't have the time to actually mature. Like this happened to Jay-Z. Jay-Z stabbed an executive in the middle of his career because he thought he was bootlegging his albums because his album came out before it was supposed to come out in the shops, and therefore he lost a lot of money because people were getting it for free or getting it for cheap. It was being sold on the street, and he ended up confronting a guy he thought was responsible and stabbing him, and then he almost went to prison. And that changed him totally. He then realized that it's not worth any of this because he saw his future could have disappeared. He was on top of the world at the time. And if he went to prison, it would have all been over. And then he said, right, I'm dropping all of that stuff. I'm keeping my nose clean. And so he was very lucky. Puff Daddy had a similar situation. Shine went to prison in that situation. There was one of them shot a gun in a club. Puff Daddy didn't face any jail time. That would have probably made him grow up a lot. So, and Bobby Shmurda is fairly young as well. He's 22. So, and he's just come off the streets. So he would have had guns all around him. Like this is the thing that kind of baffles me. It's easy for us to look at them and say how ridiculous they are for carrying guns. But if they just had a breakout single, that means he would have spent his former life in the hood with guns all around him, and he just kind of carried on his life as he had done before. But suddenly there's all this media attention and the police are watching you closely. And so you don't have that moment where, oh, maybe I shouldn't carry this stuff around. So I can see how it happened. And Migos had a similar situation. There was an interview by Complex, and they showed some of their weapons, and I think they got in trouble for that. Because it was a kind of behind the scenes sort of, let's look at their house and where they make music. And it was like a walk-in wardrobe. Like it was a small room where that was their recording studio. It was amazing to see. They just had a microphone in there, and that was it. Drake made Hotline Bling in a hotel room. I love this new world where you can just make music anywhere. I used to think you have to spend 100 grand on a recording studio. You have to have the glass booth and everything, but you don't actually. Technology can take away the hissing sound, so you're good. So another slight aspect to this story, there was an interview with Complex, and that was done with Bobby Shmurda and Rowdy Rebel, who is part of his crew. And Bobby Shmurda said that he was given the offer of 5 years, but then Rowdy Rebel would have to take 12 years. And so he's voluntarily doing an extra 2 years to save his friend from doing an additional 5 years. And even if you add the two amounts together, the 5 and 12 is much higher than the 7 and 7. 7 and 7 is 14, and 12 and 5 is 17. So that's the 3 extra years. So he's taking one for the team, and Rowdy Rebel gets out at the same time. And it's wise to get out at the same time. You should never leave earlier than everyone else. There was this fascinating interview with Young Jeezy about that, where he said that he was caught. I don't know what happened, but he was arrested with his friends, and he was offered the chance to leave on bail, and he decided to stay in prison with his friends because he said he knows what happens when this happens and the leader gets to leave, the rich leader gets to leave. Everyone that's still in prison kind of gets a bit annoyed at that this guy's left, and then they're more likely to talk and they feel a bit disunity. So it's a good idea to stay together in the prison so that doesn't happen and you're not played against each other. So it's fascinating psychology that Young Jeezy revealed in an interview. It's on YouTube. One of the New York radio stations it was with. So he's taking one for the team. They're doing 7 years, both of them. He's done 2 years already, so there's 5 years to go. Good behavior, he could be out earlier. And I hope this is a positive story as well. Like, this is another situation where he could get out and then could just be stupid and cause problems. And I doubt he's changed greatly. Prison isn't a great environment, and he didn't have a chance to gain a lot. But he has every opportunity to change if he wants to change. And he has been to prison. If it's his first time, that will affect you greatly. So fingers crossed he changes and he stays away from all of that street life, doesn't carry guns around with him. Or if he does, what some rappers do is they get other people to carry the guns. But they make sure they're legalized as well. You need to have like documentation for all of that stuff. You can't just carry around unlicensed guns. And really, I'd much prefer if they just didn't bother anyone and didn't carry guns around. I don't like this whole gun situation. Anyway, so that's all the stories that we have this week. Follow us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook, and Audio Mac. If you want to join us as a host, email us, and I'll see you next week.